Thank you, Chairman. Good to have you all here. Thank you, Administrator Butt, for being here. Thank you also for your travels to Rhode Island. Maryland is not the only state that has a bridge predicament, as you know. Rhode Island's Washington Bridge goes over the Seekonk River. It carries a federal artery on it, where the Key Bridge runs about 30,000 vehicles per day. The Washington Bridge runs closer to 100,000 vehicles per day. And for the eastern half of my state, it's the essential artery for getting, for instance, to the hospitals of Rhode Island, to the Rhode Island Hospital emergency room, for instance. So it's very important to us to get this attended to with as much federal support as we can. I understand that we are looking at what the causes are of our bridge's failure to see whether it can qualify for emergency designation. And thankfully, our failure was caught before the collapse of the bridge. We just had to close it immediately, at least most of it. But we are where we are as a result, and it's going to be important to me and to Rhode Island's delegation to make sure that we are not exactly in Maryland's position, because we are probably not an emergency. We thankfully did not have loss of life, but to be on the similar track of federal attention. So we've said that to you before. Governor McKee has said that to you. Our whole delegation has said that to you. This is not news to you, but since you are here, I wanted to remind you of that and ask if you had any comments to that point you could make.
Thank you, Senator, and I am well aware, both through my visits and our numerous conversations, of the importance and the impact to Providence, East Providence, and the entire state. I actually flew into Providence when I was on my way up to visit the Cape Cod bridges, just so I could see how things were going. Good to see that because of the efforts of Rhode Island DOT that some of the
flow is better.
The flow is better. We'll continue to work with Rhode Island on this. Grateful that it was caught before it became a deadly disaster, and commitment to just stay in close contact as we move forward on this.
Yeah, and it's close contact is nice, but the request is that we stay on a time track similar to the Key Bridge project, and that there be significant resources available. We are dealing with a very significant expenditure for the state of Rhode Island for a really essential piece of federal infrastructure. I mean, you landed at T.F. Green Airport and you drove north on 95, and then you turned across the bridge to 195 in order to get to Cape Cod. All of eastern Massachusetts is accessed through that multi-lane highway which goes over that bridge. So it's really important not just to Rhode Island, but also to those seeking to get to eastern Massachusetts and to the Cape and so forth, to have that bridge repaired. And the expense is going to be considerable. Looks like we're going to have to tear a significant portion of the bridge down and then commission a rebuild of a new structure. I don't think we're going to hit $1.7 billion, but it's going to be a big number, and it's going to be a particularly big number for a small state. We think it's important that it's a value that Rhode Island adds to have that junction of 95 and 195 right in the middle of our state. It's a very important piece of the federal infrastructure of the entire Northeast. And now that it has been put in this peril, we're really eager to make sure that the federal government understands that this federal highway needs federal support so that we can get it back in full, safe operation for another 50 to 100 years.
Yes, sir. I fully agree with you. I understand the impacts, and I think, as Ranking Member Capito said, if this was in any one of your states, you would make this argument. So I hear you. I know that they just had an RFP that was out there to get a repair on the bridge that did not ultimately have any companies competing. So going to continue to work with Rhode Island DOT to get that bridge open as quickly as possible. And we'll meet with you on the as much funds as are legally eligible.
The funding is going to be key, and the timing of the funding is going to matter. Thank you very much, Chairman.
You're quite welcome.